But I know like if it's like a clear night, you can like definitely see things that are definitely not like a star or a planet or any sort of flying plane that you could imagine. And once I swear to you, I thought I saw like a craft, like I was convinced. I believe there will be a disclosure. I just think they're going to give us like one tiny fraction of what they really know, what they've really seen. I mean, I believe him because I feel like he has so much to lose and so little to gain by saying that. And also, like, they tried so hard to discredit him and like bring up things about him that just made me feel like, oh, well, they usually do that if you're saying something true. I saw Fire in the Sky when I was a kid, which like terrified me, but it also like made me like super fascinated just with the very idea that something could like abduct you and take you to another planet.
The following is my conversation with Josie Stevens. Josie is an American model, clothing and interior designer, TV personality, and online content creator. Josie starred in the reality TV show Married to Rock alongside her husband, Steve Stevens, of Billy Idol fame. In this podcast, I want to discuss UFOs and UAP with as broad a demographic as possible, talking to real people, not just the everyday talking head seen on 1,000 other podcasts before. I want this subject to be as mainstream as possible, so the everyday person cares passionately about the subject and pushes their local and national government to push for disclosure because they care about it and because we've removed the stigma. This was a fun conversation and it was a real pleasure talking to Josie. Josie's just a wonderful human being. So, the following is my conversation with Josie Stevens. Josie, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your time. I've quite frequently I have people who would be kind of considered experts in the field, and quite often people who do lots of podcasts, the same kind of podcasts about UFOs and UAPs. And I think it's really useful to have different perspectives, different types of people to discuss the subject, to make the subject more mainstream, which I think ultimately will help push it forward. So you are fashion designer, interior designer, TV personality, online content creator, and again, married to a very cool dude who's in one of my favorite bands. I have to say, I do listen. So what's an average day for you?
Well, most days, I mean, it depends on whether I'm traveling on tour with my husband or if I'm at home. Most days I do photo shoots because I'm a content creator. So I'm always making like photo shoots for all my different like websites and fan sites. Wink, wink. But if we're on tour, then usually we're like flying somewhere and they play a show. I will shoot like in the dressing room, on the tour bus, like wherever we're at. So most days I'm creating content or editing, traveling a lot. And I actually just got a second place over by the beach. I'm there now. So if I have a day off, then I like to go to the beach and hang out. So that's what I do most days.
Okay, let's jump into UFOs then. So I know that you've got an interest in the UFO UAP subject. Where did that kind of start? What first piqued your interest in the subject?
I've been interested ever since I was a little kid because I just feel like it's so interesting, the possibility that there's like life on other planets and what do they look like and are they like us? Are they different? And then like I watched some movies and then like I saw Fire in the Sky when I was a kid, which like terrified me, but it also like made me like super fascinated just with the very idea that something could like abduct you and take you to another planet. So I think I just had an interest ever since, I was young and like what would they be like? Would they be nice? Would they be evil? Like what do they know that we don't know? So I just find it really interesting.
Yeah. Have you ever so where are you living at the moment? You say you've got two places. Where's your kind of base?
Well, I have a house in Vegas and then I have my little beach place here. So I kind of switch back and forth. And it's funny because like here, I've never seen anything like living in LA that seems like extraterrestrial or weird or unusual. But in Vegas, you see a lot of things in the sky where you go, what is that? That doesn't fly like a normal plane. That doesn't look like a shooting star. What is that? And sometimes I'll go camping, like out by like Area 51 kind of, and you see things in the sky that like there's just no way. Now, whether it's an alien, craft or it's our government using some sort of technology that we're not familiar with, I don't know. But I know like if it's like a clear night, you can like definitely see things that are definitely not like a star or a planet or any sort of flying plane that you could imagine. And once I swear to you, I thought I saw like a craft, like I was convinced, but I was on mushrooms. So I don't know.
So what do you think? What do you think they are then? What do you think they represent? I know it's I'm asking you to sort of speculate, but what do you think?
Yeah.
So, for example, some people will say kind of extraterrestrial, so they come from some other planet somewhere very far away. Other people think
Yeah.
it's interdimensional. They've always been here. Ancient aliens, so they're an ancient civilization perhaps that have been here. It's like there's all sorts of different ideas and sort of opinions. Have you got any idea or any thoughts yourself?
I mean, honestly, I'm open to every possibility. Like, I feel like I've, heard people say, I believe Spielberg believes that they're like us from the future and that somehow we're so technologically advanced in the future that we've come back to save ourselves. So like maybe, but then you see things like ancient like artwork and things that appears like, is that a craft? Is that an alien? Have they been around forever? Are they from another galaxy, like another dimension? I'm not sure. And in my mind, I feel like there may be like more than one kind, because it just makes sense to me that there wouldn't just be like one kind. And like, even if you think about our planet, like we have humans, yeah, but we have birds and fish and dogs and plants and all these things. So I feel like it would only be logical that on other planets or galaxies, they have those same things. I haven't even ruled out the possibility that they're here and we see them and we just don't recognize them for what they are, because like humans are so like ego based that we think everything looks like us. We think like if you draw God or an angel, they always make them like a person, but like with wings or whatever. So when you see aliens, a lot of people draw them like as a humanoid sort of creature, but maybe they have big eyes, they're green, they're gray, they're really tall, they're really small, whatever. But it's possible that they're here and it's something like, I mean, I don't know, just something random like an octopus, and we just think it's an alien. I mean, that was a dumb example, but you know what I'm saying, that there's something that's here that's an alien and we just don't even recognize it for what it is because maybe it doesn't look like us, or maybe it's like super tiny. I don't know.
Yeah. What have you been following the government stuff? Have you been following the Congress and David Grush, the whistleblower, and things like that? Has it caught your
Yeah,
attention?
I mean, I believe him because I feel like he has so much to lose and so little to gain by saying that. And also, like, they tried so hard to discredit him and like bring up things about him that just made me feel like, oh, well, they usually do that if you're saying something true. And I just feel like there's no way that our government hasn't had contact with aliens in some way. Like, I know after like we dropped the bomb, then there was a lot of like uptick in alien activity around bases and stuff, like according to reports. So I feel like maybe at that point they made contact with them, but I feel like the government always knows more than they're going to tell you. And I think like maybe they're afraid of causing like panic, or, maybe they just don't want other governments to know about technology that they have access to. I'm not really sure all the reasons why they might hide it, but I believe like without a doubt that they have had contact with at least some sort of like alien technology or ships or crafts or something. But I feel like they probably have had contact with aliens and they're not telling us, like NASA or whatever.
Yeah. Why do you think that there's like a change in the narrative from the government? So it used to be very much all my life, aliens were silly and we don't talk about it because we're serious people. We're dealing with national security and keeping people safe. And
Yeah.
now it's being talked about quite openly that there is something, I saw not that long ago, I think Barack Obama had said in an interview, there are things in the sky, we can't understand their trajectory and how they move. I know
Yeah.
that some other presidents talked about things being unusual and believe in the pilots and stuff that people like David Fravor and Ryan Graves, people like that. And I think if the government are trying to keep something secret from us, do you get any kind of a sense of why? Obviously, you're over in the States. You probably see it more so than I do.
Well, I mean, I think the reason why they try to put it forth as silly is because the easiest way to discredit something is to make it seem absurd or to make people who talk about it seem crazy. Because then even people who believe it don't want to say it because they don't want other people to be like, oh, they're crazy, they're not, they're a conspiracy theorist, whatever. So I think that's the easiest way to discredit somebody. or something by just being like, that's ridiculous. But I think people now have gotten to a point where like it's just so accepted mainstream that like there's just simply no way that we would be the only like life in this whole vast, galaxies and universe. So I feel like it's just more and more people have been open about believing it. And with the internet, people are able to share ideas or share things that maybe could have been suppressed in the past, where like a newspaper is like, well, I'm just not going to print that, where now people can share information without that sort of like barrier. So I think like that's part of it. And I also think sometimes like, the government will like throw you a little bit of a bone because they want to distract you from something else. So they're like, we don't want them to talk about that. We'll give them a couple aliens, and then like they'll be talking about that and they won't. So sometimes I think they do it as like, a diversion, or like throughout time with our government, it seems like they will like deny something. And then finally they'll admit, well, okay, we were lying, but it's classified. And they'll give you just like a crumb, but they never give you the whole truth, the whole story. So I feel like they just want to eke it out. And I don't know if it's because they're afraid that it'll cause a panic. I mean, I couldn't say. Also, I feel like the US is like a very like religious country. So it could be that like maybe they're afraid of offending constituents who would, be more religious and not believe in that sort of thing. Although, I mean, I actually know a lot of religious people who go, well, I just can't believe it. I just can't believe that we're the only ones. So it's hard to say why they're suppressing it, but I feel they are, the government never going to tell you stuff.
Well, that comes on to the next question, really. There's kind of, they're flirting with the idea of disclosure at the moment. And I think when I look at things online in the States, in the press, and the things that are sort of slowly drip feeding out from the government, there's this kind of feeling that we're going to get some kind of disclosure, some formal disclosure where they sort of sit down and say, right, this is what we've got. This is what we know so far. This is what we're able to tell you. That's, national security, certain parts, because we don't want foreign adversaries to have the knowledge that we have, technology maybe, but we're going to get something. But then there's another part of me. I see other stories where they kind of push it aside and say, well, no, I mean, it might just be, some technology that we've developed ourselves that we don't want anyone to know about. So I'm in two minds as to whether or not we're actually going to get something. Do you think that, with that said, we're going to get anything?
Yeah, I think we will, because I mean, I'm sure they'd love to take credit for it, but also technology has advanced so quickly compared to in the past. Like the advances we've made just in the past like 5-10 years are astronomical, and I feel like it must be something that they've maybe learned from them. But I feel like maybe they tested the waters. When you have something like Barack Obama being on TV and being like, well, maybe, I think they're testing people to see how they'll react to it and sort of easing it out. I believe there will be a disclosure. I just think they're going to give us like one tiny fraction of what they really know, what they've really seen. I don't think like if they somehow have contact with actual, extraterrestrials, I don't think they're going to put one on TV and be like, here it is. But I think they might be like, okay, well, we've seen a craft, and like, and then maybe give you a little more, but I don't expect a full disclosure, but I do think that sooner rather than later, they're going to be sort of forced to admit at least a little bit,
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think it would look like? What do you think a sort of a post-disclosure world would look like with people kind of hearing that the formal, formal disclosure from the government that they trust, from the government, this is what we've got, it's real. Do you think it will affect people, or, are we too kind of consumed in our own bubble to pay too much attention? Is it going to be one of these things that's just a couple day, 5 day, 1 week kind of news feed cycle, and then we move on?
It's hard to say, because sometimes I feel like something so like fascinating or shocking has happened, and like a day later people just forget about it, or a week later, they just like accept it as a part of life. But other things have more traction. I feel like so many people are so fascinated with the subject that I don't think it'll like blow over super quickly. I think people will be like, what else do you know? We want to know more. But I guess if they withhold long enough, it would fizzle out. Plus, I feel like if something very like exciting or crazy happens, that always distracts people. So it's hard to say how long a news cycle will last. But I think that it's something where there'll be an ongoing disclosure. And I could be crazy on that one, but I feel like they're going to give us a little something now and then eventually give us a little more, a little more. But I think most people, and I could be wrong, at least the people I know, all believe and all, feel solid that it, they exist. So I think they, I think that people won't just, they'll feel validated more than anything. They won't just be like, oh, I don't believe it or whatever. They're going to be like, knew it. And then, so I guess I think it'll last, but we'll see. I don't want to like, people come back and be like, you said it's going to last. No one cares anymore.
Well, it's been 70. If you believe that it kind of started around the time of the nuclear tests and stuff, then we've got, or Roswell. I mean, it depends on kind of which period you kind of you believe, but ultimately, what's that, 70, 75 years, something. We've been waiting a long time. It's been a long time. I don't want to wait another 75. I mean, I won't be here in 75 years, but
me neither. I don't think it will be. I don't think it will be. I would guess, and like this will be my prediction. I would guess in the next year they give us something. I don't think it's going to be a big something. I think they're going to give us a tiny little crumb and then see how people react to it. And if there's not a panic and people don't freak out, I think they'll give us a little more. They're always going to test the waters because they're always afraid that, people are going to like lose their minds about it. And, that is kind of human nature. You see when there's even like a small weather event, how people will go out and like hoard everything, so if people feel afraid of aliens and, panic, that's what they don't want. So I think that's why they're going to like ease it out like a little bit at a time. But I guess we'll see. I hope it's not another 75 years because I want to know. I mean, I believe that there's different ones, and I believe that there's probably throughout time they've come, whether it's because they can time travel, I'm not sure. But I feel like give us something. We want something. Give us like, just let us know if you've seen one. What do they look like? Like, are they nice? Because like, I'd like to believe that they're coming here because they want to help us, that they want to basically save us from ourselves, and us taking technology and using it sometimes for like evil instead of good. I'd like to think that they're here to help us and that we could like learn from them and grow and be like better as a society. And I hope that's what happens, and not that we're like, oh, great, we got new technology to make, bombs. Like, let's not do that,
Yeah, absolutely. Fingers crossed. Well, fingers crossed we get something something soon would be nice. I always worry that they kind of, as you say, we get something, it's a bit of just a crumb and then it's onto something else. And if it is to kind of test the waters and see how we react, I mean, you would have thought that kind of, I don't know, 75 years would have been a long enough time for them to test the waters. And now's about time. And I guess I always got this kind of this thought that we are adults ultimately, that the government aren't our parents. It's not for them to decide whether or not we should know or we could know, or if we can deal with knowing. It's like, well, we're adults. You can't keep this from humanity. If that makes sense.
I agree, but I think it's just harder for them now to hide it because of the technology, because we're here right now talking. We couldn't have done that 75 years ago. So we wouldn't have had a way to share our thoughts or share. So now I feel like it's more difficult to conceal, but I mean, even like you see people's footage that they're like, I've seen this, I saw something once that I tried to film, but it was really, I couldn't get anything on my camera phone that was like good enough to be like, I'm going to post this online because I think it's something. It just looked like a blurry whatever. And I was like, it'll be like somebody's blurry Bigfoot picture. It wasn't good enough, but but some people have, have seen things and posted things where, again, you couldn't have done that 75 years ago. So I don't know, but I agree with you that they should let us have the information and we can decide. And, humans are resilient. No matter what they throw at us, we always find a way to like, keep going. So even if they were like scary and evil, well, let us know. But I'd like to think they're not.
Yeah. Okay, Josie, I've taken up enough of your time. I really appreciate you talking to me and taking some time out of your day. I know you're super busy.
Okay.
Is there anything that you're working on at the moment or anything that you're able to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, the best way to keep in, touch with me and like find out everything I'm up to in my shoots and different projects, design, everything I'm doing is to follow me on my socials. So if you follow me on there, I have links to like everything I'm doing, my website and everything fun. So
cool.
Follow me online.
Nice one. Okay. Thank you for that, Josie, and take care of yourself and hopefully speak to you again in the future. Post-disclosure, fingers crossed, and we can have a talk about that.
Okay. Fingers crossed, because I want to see them little guys. I'm obsessed. I'm terrified, to be honest, but obsessed. Like, I need to see one.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Take care. Thanks again.
Thank you.